Hello again. I just finished the video on Brutal Bash, and I was like, "Hey, we're on a roll. Let's keep going. Let's do Propeller Kick." So, Propeller Kick is, I think it's finished. I still there are a few things actually. Let's not get into that just yet. Let's start with the basics: the animation and the way it looks and the visuals and whatnot. So the animation comes straight from X-Men Legends 1, from all the way back then. It's perfect. It was his power 2, one of his only 2 attacking powers. And it translates great to MUA. It really didn't need much of a change, your typical radial. So for the visual effects, I made quite a few changes. So the white highlights in the swipe bands there used to be like an orange brownish kind of color. It looked weird. So yeah, I lightened that up into a more whitish sort of highlight, and I made it blend by adding one of those distortion masks, I think is what the texture is called. You've probably seen it plenty of times when you use like a spinning power. There will be like a sort of wibbly warbly distortion. You can kind of see it here. It helps the colors blend, and it helps make it look a lot more like other powers that work like this within MUA. So I thought that was a good addition, which was incredibly hard to line up because apparently the heights don't translate the same as they do with the swipe bands. So that took a long time to get going, but now it's all lined up, and I think it looks really nice. I changed the timing of it too. I think I either increased its speed. Yeah, I think I increased its speed because it kept going a little bit longer after he had already like put his legs back down. So I did that. I also lowered it a bit because it was actually quite a bit higher than where his legs are. It's still a little bit higher than his feet are, so that it pops better, but it was quite a bit higher. So I lowered it down a little bit so that it's more in line with where his feet actually are, like height-wise. And aside from that, I don't think I did much else with the animation or the effects. It's very straightforward. It hits dudes, obviously. No shit. But it uses 2 hits, 2 radials on the same index so that it'll only hit once. And oh right, I left all of you here. Holy crap. Okay, this is more okay. So we're gonna talk about indexes for a second. When you have a power that has 2 triggers on different indexes, each trigger will hit an enemy. But if they're both on the same index, which they are by default if you don't add indexes, what happens is after the first hit, the second hit will not happen to the same enemy because they're both on the same index. They're both counted as the exact same attack. So at the very start, it has a hit, and right at the very end, before he puts his legs back down, it also has a hit. This was because before, ever so often, people would walk into range while he was still spinning, but the hit had already happened, so it looked kind of weird that they were able to just walk through it, or guys would just stand up into it, but not get hit by it, so I made sure there was another hit at the very end. So, yeah, if somebody comes to the party a little late, they still get hit by the tail end of it, or if they, stand up a little too late, they'll still get hit by the tail end of it. But there's something interesting about indexes that I don't know how many people are aware of, but you can reset the index. How do I explain this? So say the first radial hits, right? So now the second radial won't hit because the first one did and they're considered the same attack. But if the first one hits and then whoever it hits gets hit by something else before the second one hits, it will hit because it resets the index. So yeah, the first radial hits them. If something happens to them before the second one hits, it resets the index and the second one will hit. And this isn't a problem with my build, okay? This is an issue that's always existed in these games. It's just how it works. It's just this silly oversight. And it doesn't, it's not really a problem because it's very rare for them to get hit by something else in between your like same index radials. But knockback moves can be cheese, and they always have been. It's something I do all the time, and this is one of them. And So if I were to knock a guy back into this wall, he would impact the wall, and then he would be able to get there. See? He got hit twice. It's because he impacted the wall, and it reset the index. And this can be done with a lot of powers, but I don't think anybody ever notices. It's not very practical to use to like lure a guy to a wall and just get like an additional hit. It's just something that every so often comes into play where you're like, oh hey, he's near the wall, sweet, I got an extra hit. You know? Like, if I did bring that up, I don't think anybody would have any idea that's how the indexes work with this power. Well, with all powers, really. So, yeah, there's a lot of other powers that work like this, too, that you can take advantage of walls with, especially if they have knockback, and, you know, hitting them intermediately with other powers. And this is just another one of them. I don't think it breaks the balance at all. I think it's still well-suited. It's a very tight radius power. The radius of this attack is slightly further out than the actual visual effect, and this is because, depending on the perspective, like the angle of the camera, sometimes it looks like the swipe band went through a guy, but it didn't just because of your perspective. So I'd rather just give it that extra tiny little bit of leeway, because it's always better to be like, oh hey, I hit a guy that was slightly out of the range, bonus. That's always better than I absolutely should have hit that guy over there, but I didn't. And that's all a perspective thing. So it gave it just that little bit extra range. And it also helps because they were just the original range where it was like perfectly in line with the effect was just inside an area that I've noticed they like to pace outside of when they're sizing you up. So it's like, okay, just add a little smidge to it and it'll be good to go. So yeah, it's your typical radial power. Now it's got some special stuff that I'm still not, I don't know. So the physical damage is a pretty much direct rip of Mjolnir's Slam from Thor, because it is also a radial power too, and when your points get all the way down here, the way the damage scales as it levels up changes. And so yeah, I needed to model it after a fellow level 2 radial, and then yeah, I scaled the damage with that basically, and it turned out good. The knockback goes up, not by a lot. I mean, I guess by the time you go all the way to the end, it's doubled, but it goes from 140 to 280. And yeah, it's just your quick defensive attack. You get surrounded, you hit him back, easy peasy. It also has a deadly strike chance, which I'm on the fence about. I think I'm going to keep that. I think. Because it is a really tight radius. I think I'm going to keep that. If I didn't, you'll know when you play the Beast Mod. But yeah, that about covers Propeller Kick. Very simple. Just your average radial. A little bit of fun information about indexes. And, yeah. There you go. I think the next video will be about animations and or boosts, or maybe I'll put them both in the same video depending on how long. I don't know. I'm talking about unrelated stuff now. So yeah, that's Beast. Oh, and on a side note, if you like these skins at all, they're created by my very talented friend Ethan. So check out the Ham Sorcerer. He's got great skins. He's awesome. Just a little shout out to him just cause. Anyway, yeah, doodles.